Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And we are on episode 158. Dang, I missed it. You know what? I actually didn't remember. So since this is 158, right? A year has 52 weeks. We have not missed a week in over 3 years now. I forgot to mention the 3-year no absenteeism accomplishment. So dang it. So episodes 156 was which is funny because that's when we did the basics of the low vitamin A and low toxin nutrition structure. It's kind of fitting. And then 157 we did last week's, which if you didn't see was huge and all about diabetes. A client of mine actually contacted me and told me that he started doing some of the things that so he's a client of mine, so he already understands the Love Your Liver program, but he started doing some of the things that I mentioned in that episode, specifically zinc and magnesium, and he's seeing his mother's diabetes improve. So diabetes is a liver problem, and that's what we deal with here. So anyway, welcome to the show today. We are doing, as we do regularly, to give myself a break and to give myself time to figure out new topics to do. We're doing subscriber Q&A. So if you have questions, just post them in the live chat. I go through them in the order of if there are super chats where people make a small donation to the channel to get to the top of the list, I do those first. And then otherwise, I start at the very top of the chat for questions. We had so many chats last week, 480 or something like that we couldn't even scroll back to the top of the chats. It limited how far back we could go. It was pretty impressive. So thank you all for coming. But let's get started. And Heather said, well, Joe said hello. Anyway, Heather said, good morning from Alberta. Thank you for making the time and effort to educate us. You are very welcome. That is what I do. It's kind of like I'm here to teach a man and women how to fish. I'm not here to get people addicted to protocols or anything inspired dieting. I'm here to help people figure out what they need and what doesn't work for them and to get that. So you are welcome. It's kind of cool that we can find all these patterns and threads through human disease, and then we can kind of know how to fix almost everything. At least we have a structure or a framework to work within. If you see I'm a little pinkish today, that's because I've already had some of my flush, my niacin flush, specifically doing the Niasoda Black from Kelsey's Etsy store. So Joe, if you want to post that, that's also in the info below. If you want to go check out her niacin products, that's actually what I'm drinking right now, along with several things I'm experimenting with. I'm experimenting with a very, very specific fiber now in it. And there are some other secret projects that Kelsey has made that she's my formulator, and she sent them to me and I get to test them out. So thanks, Kelsey. Well, you guys in the chat, if you got questions, we don't have a lot of questions in the chat, so you post them now so you can get them answered. Okay, that's a good question. So Hedwood said, Buenos dias, liver lovers. Actually, let me talk about that for a second. So I was thinking about some of the ways, one of the guys I work with, I have done work with, and I'm still currently working with, is John David. You can find him on Twitter. I forget his handle, but John David, he wrote the book, I Can't Believe It's This Easy. I think that's the title of it. Anyway, I've talked about it here on the show before, and it is a book about quitting screen addictions. Anyway, he talks about how to address your subconscious so that you can stop kind of self-sabotaging. And a lot of people know this already, but your subconscious does not recognize negatives like no or don't or whatever. It only recognizes the positive part of it. The part, so if you're saying, I don't want to be addicted to screens, well, your subconscious ignores the don't, and it says, I want to be addicted to screens, because it just doesn't recognize the negatives. Anyway, I was thinking about this in relationship to Brian Johnson, I believe is his name, the guy who is obsessed with not dying. the don't die protocol. That is what he has called what he's doing. His don't die protocol. What kind of wording is that to the subconscious? That's a disaster. Some of the things, well, so then you think about what we're doing here. What's the program called? Love Your Liver. It's a very different vibe, is it not? And then also, I'll tell you that one of the things I've called, so I have a very long warm-up in the gym. If you want to call it a warm-up. I mean, it's stability and mobility training. And as Chris DeVogt has seen, I did a workout with him when I was up in Washington at the Natural Law Institute convention, and he was quite impressed with my my abilities, my physical abilities at 48. But what do I call that stability and flexibility and mobility thing I do at the start? I call it the youth maintenance program. I don't call it the don't become a stiff old man program. You see the difference in this wording? Don't die. Don't become a stiff old man. Or like I could call it the old man avoidance program. I mean, in a way they mean the same thing, but your subconscious doesn't take them the same way. So I'd much rather do what we do, the Love Your Liver program, and like my youth maintenance program, which I will hopefully at some point be getting into more things. I have some ideas about putting some more stuff in the Love Your Liver program about some things I found on the internet that are very, very cost effective to fix your jaw. Like if you've heard of mewing is not just where your tongue is in your mouth. Anybody who thinks it's just that, and if it's just about your looks, it's not about that at all. If you want to go and get the mewing app, it's $25 a year. I've been doing it for about a week. I have already noticed massive changes in my TMJ. I had some little TMJ issues that were radiating. My dad clenched so hard that his teeth were just completely flat across. So it's not something that's new to my genetics. I inherited a ton of qualities from my father. I'm very much like my father. So anyway, mewing is a really good place to get started on. It is, as they say at the start of the app, I really want you to know that. I mean, I recommend things here that I like John David's book on, and it's John David's book on the the screen addiction and how it addresses the subconscious. It can be applied to anything. It's like a $20 book. I am actually working with him personally because I thought his work was amazing and I wanted some personal attention, and he's not inexpensive, we'll put it that way. However, how much is your peace and sanity worth? Now, the mewing app, $25. And they say at the start of that app, this is likely going to change your life if you do this. It's not just your tongue on your roof of your mouth. The very first thing they actually say in it is swallowing is the first thing they want you to fix. So that, and then there's a great ebook by a guy on Twitter, Fit at 45 Plus. That's his handle on Twitter, Fit at 45. The number's 45. Fit at 45 Plus. He has a free ebook. I mean, it's free. You can do a donation. I think after you read this book, if you didn't do a donation, you'll wish you did. And he's a good guy, and he's totally on board with what we do here. He tends to be an all muscle meat carnivore, which is, like I said, it's a really good foundation. So we very much agree on 90% of dietary stuff. And then he made this great book about how to help yourself fix your posture and your fascia and all that stuff. He's not normal. So mewing's not normal. Fit at 45 Plus's ebook is not normal. And fixing your subconscious, really fixing it with John David stuff is not normal. So if you can do those things, yes, with the Love Your Liver program, we fix the chemical part, and then you can work on all the structural parts and some of the emotional parts too. So anyway, let's get into it. Now that we did all that. Okay. Butch said, heard an interview by Dr. Doulard on hydrogen water. Do you have any experience with it? Yes, I do. I used it in practice. I was not impressed. They sell it as like the most powerful antioxidant. And it's molecular hydrogen. Okay. We've been over this many times on this show. What do antioxidants do to your oxidative detox system? Like alcohol dehydrogenase, like aldehyde dehydrogenase, the most important detox enzyme step in the whole system, in my opinion. Well, antioxidants are known to slow down the detox, those detox enzymes. It's known. You can go and look up polyphenols. Polyphenols slow down ALDH. It's in the research. So we know that molecular hydrogen is classified as an antioxidant, so it tends to slow down detox enzymes. Then when you think about the names of those detox pathways, aldehyde dehydrogenase, dehydrogenase, an enzyme that removes a hydrogen. And we want to go and put a bunch of hydrogens in. What do you think they're going to do? Bind to things that we then have to dehydrogenase them? So no, what I saw in practice with it, I didn't feel a dang thing. Super expensive. My clients didn't see much either. I thought it was going to be all the thing at a time. And as I've gotten into this, we don't try to push the super strongest antioxidants in our program. That's not what we do. Can people feel better from it? Yes, we talk about this all the time. You can slow down detox and slow down bile production and feel better. This is treating the symptom. The symptom is you're leaking toxic bile into your bloodstream. So you slow down the bile dumping and the production and dumping. Where's the bile staying? It's staying in your liver. How does fatty liver come about? Probably because you're not getting the fatty related bile out of it. So you can see you're storing more toxicity in your liver, and your symptoms can feel better because you're not leaking so much bile into your blood because you're not making it and pumping it out. So people feel better. Do you think the strongest antioxidant out there could have a very, very strong effect on slowing down bile production? If I'm correct, I'd say so. So we don't mess around with it. You'd be shooting yourself in the foot if you were trying to do the things in the Love Your Liver program and then you decide to take super powerful antioxidants. You're going to be butting. Those two approaches are not compatible. So that's my take on that. Yes, I have used it. I did not like it. It's like I tried low dose lithium in practice. What a joke. What a waste of time that was. A couple people felt a little better. Okay. A lot of people were finding they had to pee like all day long. They just had, I had that too, just peeing and peeing and peeing. And you're like, what's going on? And then most people didn't feel anything. And I was like, wow, for being such a magical supplement, this thing sure sucks. So yeah, I've tried. People don't understand. I've been in this game since 2006. Rare Pepe, why am I against David Stevens' glucose program? I did a whole show on it. You should go back a couple, 6 or 7 shows and watch all the evidence I promote about how it's not going to work long term. And then watch my diabetes show. I'm not going to spend any time explaining it because I did a whole 3-hour show on it. So let's go to the next one. Fernando Espin. Thank you. Sorry. Dr. G, I'm a Latino man with a beard, but some of my hairs are red like copper. Is that copper toxicity? Pretty much. I'm not gonna. I don't diagnose by hair color. What I do know is that in the research, redheads have different liver function than others. You can go and look this up. I think there's a reason why gingers, as they're called, redheads, are kind of regarded as different than everybody else. There's something going on there. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying their livers are different. Let me tell you a story about a weird liver from a guy I know. I think I've told this story before. I was in college, and a group of guys that I was hanging out with, there was one guy who was full blood Korean. And he was one of the, how do I put this? In Korea, he told me about this. He said there's like the big Koreans and then there's like the little Koreans. And he said they're like almost like two different genetic lines. This is what he told me. I didn't make this up somewhere. And he was like 6'1", and he like movie star kind of Asian guy, good looks. Well, I'm talking about his liver here. I saw this guy drink, I think one night he was out, he drank 4 like 40s of malt liquor, vomited, and then continued drinking. Didn't die of alcohol poisoning. He was immune to morphine. So we're seeing like a huge tolerance for alcohol and immune to morphine. One night he was my roommate. He was sitting there. He stayed up late, played video games, drank some carrot juice that he bought at the store, and ate a bunch of like a bag of baby carrots. The next day, his armpits are orange. His neck is orange. He's itching. He doesn't feel good. He goes to the student health center at the U of A, and they parade him around the student health center, saying to all the doctors and the practitioners, saying, you may never see this again. Like this is vitamin A toxicity from carrots, and you may never see this again. So some people have different livers. This doesn't mean that one thing that's a poison for somebody is not a poison for somebody else. I mean, some people run faster than the others, right? Why is that? Well, there's all sorts of factors, but genetics plays a huge role in it. Some people have stronger constitutions in general. I think one of the reasons I'm here today, able to relay all of the mistakes I made in my past, is because I have a pretty resilient liver that could handle me beating the crap out of it, trying all these stupid health things in the past. I had to make all those mistakes to figure it out and watch other people like my buddy make mistakes and learn that, wow, this liver thing is really at the core of it. So anyway, yeah, I don't necessarily go by I mean, if I saw a hair test of, if we did such a thing as taking a hair test of your beard sample, and we saw that it was really high in copper, we might be able to start making a pattern. I mean, you got to start a pattern somewhere, right? But I don't diagnose it. Do I pretty much see that everyone, based on the standards that I go by and by what I see improve people, is pretty much everybody in the Western world copper toxic? Yes. So do I need to see red hairs in your beard to be quite sure that you have copper toxicity? I don't need to see anything necessarily. I could just go by the percentages that I see. So that's where it's like the whole thing about zinc spots on your fingernails, what people call zinc spots, the white spots. Well, you can get white spots on your fingernail just from banging your fingernail on something hard. This is known. Does that mean you're zinc deficient? I don't know. Is it zinc deficiency? Or if somebody fixes their copper toxicity, what I believe it is, it may be, if it's truly just systemic, it's a zinc to copper imbalance, which could be, what are the different imbalances you could have? Well, you could have zinc deficiency and copper toxicity. You could have adequate zinc and copper toxicity. Some people I've seen have low zinc and what seems like low copper. Then people are going to go, oh, but copper deficiency. And then here, you want to know what's funny is, as we get them better and their liver starts getting rid of the trash, without them eating more copper, their zinc comes up and their copper comes up. And then the white spots that, like, I used to have white spots on my fingernails. I don't have them anymore. So I believe it is a zinc to copper imbalance, but I don't believe in copper deficiency. We have a guy who has his serum coppers at 34. Do you understand how deficient that is supposed to be? He should be just falling apart. You know what happens when he takes copper? He feels terrible. If he had a copper deficiency so bad, shouldn't he feel better if he takes copper or eats high copper foods? But he says, no, all those make me feel terrible. Weird. This is where we can start to go, oh, wait, we've got multiple people who have a 0 or below lab detection limits on serum retinol. Are they falling apart? No. We got now the new psyop out there is for people to say that if you don't get more essential minerals than I say, you're going to continue to have vitamin A toxicity. They're so desperate. They're so desperate to find lies to discount us, to discount our results. YouTube videos are coming out now all about Grant and I. All they're trying to do, I mean, where are they making money on these things? Somebody's got to be paying them. That they just have time to make videos about Grant and I? I mean, why am I doing these? Because I like to make a living. I like to have a roof over my head. I like to feed my children. What are they doing about? How are they making money slandering me and these approaches? Somebody's probably paying them. Or they're selling vitamin A supplements and they're worried about their income. It's pretty funny, though. You can smell their desperation. So let me see. We did get a super chat. Taylor Thomas. Hey, Garrett, thank you for the super chat, first of all. Wondering about your thoughts on hemochromatosis. Guidelines, what might a person consider or do if they had iron overload in their tissues? Well, Taylor, it just so happens that I did an entire live stream on ferritin, particularly high ferritin, because of the people I see, maybe 5% of them have low ferritin and 95% of them have higher ferritin than I like. I like ferritin between about 30 to 70. Most people are higher than that, especially men. That said, just like we went over with copper toxicity and copper supposed deficiency, which we have people regularly becoming quote unquote copper deficient, doing what we do over a long period of time. This is a key thing. They are supposedly getting copper deficient, but they don't have any copper deficiency symptoms. So what does that say about supposed copper deficiency? Well, we have people who do the program for years, and some of them get to what we would normally call low ferritin, and they have no anemia symptoms. But they detoxed and they restored their nutritional deficiencies to get there. Do we need ferritin in our blood? That's the question. Do we want it there? Or is it leaking there in the toxic bile? Right? If the liver makes ferritin and puts it into the bile. So how does ferritin get into the blood? It leaks. So if you have high ferritin, that is one marker of excess bile leaking into your blood. There are many, many potential markers of cholestasis or toxic bile leaking in your blood. Ferritin is a big one, especially for men. Higher copper levels tend to show up in women. And that's the nature of the differences between the genetic sexes, which do exist. So now blood donations. This is an important thing. I don't want to hit on this too long, but you did do a super chat. So I would highly suggest that, the ferritin show is probably 3 hours by itself. So I'm not going to get to all of it today. And that's not what today's show is for. But blood donations or therapeutic phlebotomies, where blood donations, they take your blood, they're going to give it to somebody else, potentially. Therapeutic phlebotomies, you get these ordered by a physician, they take your blood out and they throw it away. You're not giving it to anybody, they're taking it out because it's got, usually too much ferritin in it. Now, the key thing to understand about taking blood out, bloodletting, whatever you want to call it, for health purposes, it is taking out blood, which has good and bad stuff in it. Okay. So then people go, oh my God, they're taking out good stuff. Well, of course they are. That's part of it. But they're also taking out bad stuff. Now, if you're doing the whole approach that we do, you are not putting the bad stuff back in, and you are focusing on getting the good stuff back in. So what does this do over time? And then we're working on fixing the toxic bile leakages. That's the whole basis of what we do. So I just had somebody send me a message saying, well, I've been on the vitamin A detox program for like 3 months. I don't know if they were on the Love Your Liver program. They just said, I've been minimizing vitamin A for 3 months and my iron's still high. Bad news, folks. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you think that you're going to fix decades-long problems in 3 months, I have bad news. Can it happen? Sure. Is it likely? It'd be like on the commercials where they're like, results not typical. They love to have the best ones on their commercials, and then they say results not typical. Well, people who, if you're out there and you're seeing people who are like at 1 month, 2 months, 3 months saying, I fixed all these things, they are the results not typical. I'm not going to hide that from you guys. The saying I go by is it's a marathon, not a sprint. The problems that you've had the longest in your life are probably the last ones to go away. That's the way your body heals, kind of often in reverse order of how you got these things. So if it's a super old thing, it's going to be probably the last thing to go away because it's the deepest rooted. It's like the peeling the layers of the onion. Okay? Like you start on the outside of the onion. Not that we want to eat onions, but we start on the outside of the onion and we go down into it. And that thing that was first, the deepest thing, is going to be the last thing you get to. If you wanted to think of one of the pictures I use in my mind is like that onion. So if you think of the liver as almost like layers of toxic bile that you have to dig through, or you could think of it as the onion and you have to go through these layers. So think of it as you were healthy when the onion was starting, you were healthy. And as you went through your life and you were exposed to jabs, medications, toxic supplements, pharmaceuticals, glyphosate, whatever damaged your liver. You got on a high copper diet because you thought it was good for you, or you ate a bunch of liver and eggs and dairy, or you were a vegan or whatever. You started building the onion. You started building layers of toxicity. And it got bigger and bigger. So the thing that you had at the start is the deepest thing. And then you have to dig through the layers to get back to it. It doesn't always happen in that order, but that's most common. So a lot of, let's say, women have had low ferritin for a very, very long time. And we do see that get fixed if they do the right things. Low ferritin, as I said in that episode, if you have low ferritin, chronically low ferritin, and you're eating red meat regularly, it's not a dietary iron deficiency. If you eat red meat once a day, it's not a dietary deficiency of iron. Your liver is not working correctly. And what do we do here? We fix the liver, and then over time, we see that come up. Once in a while with clients I work with, they might try an iron supplement. And if it helps them, I say, okay, we'll use that for now. As we get them better, they eventually don't need it and their ferritin stays up. So anyway, blood draws. Takes out good, takes out bad. But with our approach, we are not putting back in the bad so much, and we are putting back in the good, so we shift it. I dose blood donations based on ferritin and what I talk to clients about, and I'm teaching the other practitioners who are going to be working with me. They're now on the website. If you guys haven't seen, we do have the new website up, and the new practitioners, Hope and Kelsey, are available to take clients now. So that's pretty cool. So we now have 3 practitioners other than myself. Just so you know, if you sign up with another practitioner other than me, you can still get access to me and my troubleshooting in the office hours that you get as part of each package for 6 months. So if you do a consult with somebody else, you're going to have access to all the practitioners' office hours. Mine, Nathan's, Hope's, and Kelsey's. So if you want to talk to me, you just do the consult with them, and then we can tweak and troubleshoot and do all that stuff with me if you choose to in the office hours. So, okay. Let's see. But yeah, typically what I typically go by, one blood donation. Now, when I say a blood donation, I mean you're donating 500 milliliters of blood, half a liter of blood. 500 mils is about a pint. Okay. That will typically, for a period of time, lower your ferritin by anywhere from 30 to 50 points. In the US, you can donate once every 8 weeks. Some other countries may still be 12 weeks. I don't know. I don't keep track of it. But the thing to know is, if you're not doing things to actually fix the root causes of the problem of why the ferritin's high, if you stop donating, like if somebody donated enough blood to bring their ferritin down from, like, I don't know, let's say 200 to 50, and they're like, okay, I got there. I'm between 30 to 70 and I'm good now, and I'm going to stop donating. If you didn't fix the underlying issues, it will just slowly crawl back up again to the same number that it was at. And if your problem is slowly getting worse, your ferritin will slowly get worse. That's it. So donating blood is a way to get toxic. Is it taking out a chunk of vitamin A from your blood? Yeah. Serum retinol and whatever other vitamin A compounds are floating around your blood. Beta carotene that floats around in your blood. It is taking a chunk of that out. It's taking a chunk of copper out. It's taking a chunk of, what did I say? Copper and vitamin A and iron. It's taking chunks of all those out. Yes. If you donate blood too often and you do not keep track of your ferritin, you can overdo it. You can make yourself anemic. I did it. I donated 5 times every 8 weeks I went in. I wasn't keeping track of my ferritin. I never really had that high of ferritin. I think I was somewhere in like 111 when I first started measuring ferritin. Well, I drove myself anemic, and I had what I call an anemia insomnia, which is where some of you may have had it. You wake up at some point in the night, like I was waking up at midnight, and I was like bolt awake. I was like awake. It was weird. Like, it was like all of a sudden I had a stimulant hit me in the middle of the night. Well, when I figured it out and I stopped donating blood and I started doing the things I knew back then to fix it, I slept an hour longer each night after I started fixing it, and then the problem went away. But you can drive yourself. There is a protocol out there that has people donate blood without monitoring their ferritin. And as people start to feel worse and worse and worse and worse as they donate blood more and more and more times, they just tell them that they're detoxing iron and they should keep donating. It just drove them anemic. But they're not testing, they're guessing. And they're making up stuff in their heads about what is actually happening because they're not testing. Oh, and hair analysis iron is basically worthless. I love hair analysis. Hair analysis for iron, waste of time and energy. This is why we look at ferritin. So let me get back to the next. So I think I answered that one, Taylor. Go check out the ferritin episode. Like I said, it's like 3 hours. Okay. LeBrad Pass says, new to the Love Your Liver program. Well, welcome, Brad. Happy to have you. And thank you for the super chat. Any info on CIDP or Guillain-Barré or your thoughts? Well, Guillain-Barré is obviously a liver injury. There's a reason why it's so associated with vaccines. It's a liver injury. And if you look up vaccines and liver injury, there's tons of research out there. I mean, here, I mean, you're not going to find it much in the main research. Wait, hold on. Did I just start another? I started another episode in the background. Whoops. I think it was playing this episode. Let me see. Do we want to go? Well, let's go Guillain-Barré, liver injury, PubMed. We'll just take a quick look through here. So, Joe, you can show this. Guillain-Barré syndrome mimics primary biliary cirrhosis related myopathy. This is it's a disease of the muscles. Myos, muscle, pathy is basically disease. It mimics. They will never tell you that their things are ruining your liver. Okay? It's a liver injury. So, this is the first time they figured it out. Here we report a patient with a long-standing history of primary biliary cirrhosis, which we have seen fix itself in one of our people, who developed progressive weakness and respiratory failure due to Guillain-Barré syndrome, which clinically mimicked primary biliary cirrhosis myopathy. This is the first reported association between the two. So, there's that. Let's go. Oh, you need the link. I'll get it. Here, let me get this. Here's the link to that paper. But these are not challenging to find. I did a search for Guillain-Barré liver injury PubMed. So, liver function disturbances in Guillain-Barré syndrome, a prospective longitudinal study in 100 patients, Dutch Guillain-Barré study group. What do we got? 38% of them had elevated liver enzymes. So this is why they call liver disease silent liver disease. So they're saying the remaining 28 patients were negative for other known causes of liver damage, including all of these things, because these are the only things that can cause liver damage, right? Not vitamin A, not copper toxicity. Don't want to talk about those. And they're still holding on to the virus theory. So what are we going to see? We concluded that many patients with Guillain-Barré syndrome had mild liver function disturbances, which means they suck at finding it, without obvious cause, which means they're denying lots of causes. Okay. Risk factors. Oh, wait, let me get that link. Did I get that link either? Probably not. Let me scroll down to the bottom. There we go. Let's go here. So risk factors for the severity of it and predictors of short-term prognosis of severe Guillain-Barré syndrome. Our analytic data demonstrated that the significant clinical predictors of severe Guillain-Barré syndrome were recent history of surgery, trauma, and toxicity and deficiencies. They already had health problems. Doesn't that generally what having surgery means? There's like a health problem that's already there. And then surgery is another huge stress on your system. They give you tons of drugs, which injure your liver. Toxicity then depletes nutrients. Okay. Older age. Well, the longer somebody's been around on this planet, the longer they've had to accumulate toxicities and deficiencies. Cranial nerve impairment. Okay. And elevated levels of liver enzymes. Furthermore, autonomic dysfunction, lower medical research council score at nadir, and elevated levels of liver enzymes were significantly associated with MV. I'll look up MV in a second. For severe Guillain-Barré syndrome. What is MV? Mechanical ventilation. Wow, that's bad. So just remember, it's like the whole thing that they tried to push on us with the COOF. When they were started saying, oh, if people are obese or the more health issues they have, the worse the COOF hits them. They are more toxic and more deficient from the beginning. That's why they had more toxic bile leakage problems. That's the cause of their diseases. They're already sick. So an already sick person who's already very toxic and deficient would then have this problem, which is not a virus. It's just a toxic bile dump. Something triggered it. If you want to know what might have triggered it, you might want to go find my EMF episode, the EMF live stream. So Guillain-Barré, liver injury. Now, did you say CPID? CIDP. I'm going to guess. I don't know what that is. I'm just going to look it up. CIDP. just so I make sure that I know what I'm looking at. Okay, so chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyradiculoneuropathy. Why do I feel like I'm going to find this on the rare diseases website? CIDP is a chronic condition that causes nerve damage and symptoms such as tingling, weakness, and lack of sensation. Okay, so we just we have nerve problems. Let me go do something real quick. Here, let me do. Let me just see if they have anything on Guillain-Barré and bile. Probably not, because they don't think it's connected at all, even though we just saw how much it's connected to the liver. The first thing I would say, if you have a neuropathy, the first thing I would say is to go to the website understandingb6toxicity.com. That is the website, understanding B, the number 6, toxicity.com. If you have been poisoning yourself with B6, you will get a neuropathy from it. B6 is an alcohol. Pyridoxine is an alcohol, and pyridoxal 5-phosphate, pyridoxaldehyde, is an aldehyde. It accumulates in your nerves and it will cause you neuropathy. It's very commonly similar to diabetic neuropathy, which we just went over last week. So, nothing on bile here. Let's go and just see. Let's see. Let me get. Hold on. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I want. Oh. Hold on. I'm just trying to copy and paste the the terms. There we go. Go see if PubMed has anything on this. And bile. Probably not. Okay, let's go do something a little more, a little safer. Not safer, a little more. Let's do neuropathy, serum, bile, PubMed. Oh gosh, why would peripheral neuropathy and gastroenterologic disorders be connected? Where does your bile dump into, folks? Your digestive system. That's what gastroenterologic is related to. Your nerves out in your hands and your feet being connected to your digestive system. Now, just so you know, the liver is considered part of this gastroenterologic system. Okay. What is this one? I wish it would pop up the title. This will be funny. They're going to try to say that's low bile in the blood. You don't have a bile deficiency in your blood ever. So decreased I've shown. Did you guys see the diabetes episode I showed where there was so much more bile in the blood? What they're measuring is a couple of bile acids that may be low, which is part of the recipe of diabetes, but then they're not talking about the things that are higher. So, yeah, we're not worried about that. If somebody thinks you need bile in your blood so you don't get neuropathy, good luck with that. So, bile cast nephropathy when the kidney. Oh, wait, did I stop sharing? I did, didn't I? Let me go fix that. Okay, Joe, you don't need to share that yet. Let's get back in here. that. I closed the wrong thing again. That's funny. Okay. Let's get in here. Let's go share. And let's get back into here. And there we go. Okay. Let me just go. So CIDP is, like I said, it's probably a rare disease, but so there's not going to be much research on it. But yeah, with neuropathy, the things we do is we do the same things we always do. We stop putting the toxins in. We help the body get rid of the poisons that are in it. Joe, don't worry about the screen. You can just take it down. We fix the toxicities. We fix the deficiencies. We fix the toxic bile leakage. As you saw in Guillain-Barré, it is connected to liver injury. Jabs cause liver injury. That is why GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, is very much associated with jabs. That's how you can get neuropathy right away. I had a classmate at naturopathic medical school who had gotten Guillain-Barré from a jab, specifically. So there's nothing specific. Again, this is when we have people like you may be, LeBrad, you may be the person who comes to me and you do this. And let's say this goes away. And then, you know, the question will be, well, what did it? Everybody wants to know what did it. What we are doing here is a combination of all these things together. And that's why we can fix all these things without having to know, what do I do just for this issue? We use concepts and principles. We don't use protocols and one size fits all. The diet's not one size fits all. Any supplementation is not one size fits all. We go by your responses. My job is to teach you how to watch for those things. And then people who are in the network can get lots of good feedback from other people who are saying, you're probably doing too much of this, or maybe you could try this. This is what helped me. And then they can help you along the way. So, oh yeah, we did just get over 8,000 subs. So, yeah, so that's kind of exciting. We did get somebody complained, some of you little haters out there who are probably still hate watching me. It's too bad for you. Probably complained to YouTube about about an episode, and we appealed it and they brought the episode back on. So sorry guys. Just remember, you're using your time watching me because you're scared to death I'm right. Brandon says, your work is shifting my practice and paradigm in the best of ways. Curious on your thoughts on regular use of ozone for orally on the scalp in water and its relationship for clearing vitamin A, copper, D, etc. Okay. Now, ozone. What is ozone? Ozone is an oxidizer. Remember, we were just talking about molecular hydrogen and an antioxidant, and it slows oxidation. Ozone can accelerate. It is an oxidizer, so it oxidizes. You don't want to say it accelerates. It's not making. Ozone is not making your body do anything better. It's an oxidizer. It's doing what it does, right? So it's like a chemical that does something. So therefore, we can say some of the ozone lovers out there are going to be super upset that I say this. It's not a root cause solution. It's a Band-Aid. MMS is an oxidizer. It's a Band-Aid. Ozone is an oxidizer. It's a Band-Aid. I'm not saying this is bad. Hydrogen peroxide in various uses is an oxidizer. It's a Band-Aid. If you're not oxidizing well enough, your detox system is not running right. So then what do people do? They take oxidizers to help their lagging system. Is that terrible? No, it's not terrible. It's a Band-Aid. If we understand Band-Aids, like if you break your ankle and they put you in a cast, You could be like, well, that's not natural. I don't want a cast. I'm not going to use it because it's a crutch or a Band-Aid or whatever you want to call it. It's helping you get through that time so you can heal. Okay? Crutches, Band-Aids, casting, like we can do these things as long as so what we like to see in my work, in this work here. If you are using things as a Band-Aid currently that are not in line with our framework of things, okay, my goal for you, and hopefully your goal for yourself and your clients, is to have them require or need as few things as possible over time. That's the goal. I have people come to me on 3 pages list of supplements. 3 pages, single-spaced Excel spreadsheets. The first way to not let that happen is don't read supplement companies' magazines they send you. Don't let your parents read that crap either. How to create supplement addicts of a bunch of unnecessary crap. I have one guy, he won't give up his supplements. He's still on like 2 pages worth of stuff. And I tell him, like, I know 3/4 of this stuff is working against what we're trying to do. He's just addicted. So I've given up on trying to convince him. I'm just like, we go through our consults and I say, well, we're adjusting this and this and this. And yeah, because I've tried too many times to get him to adjust the other supplements and he's just not going to do it. So, but ozone, can it? Okay, so if ozone is helping, if it helps, or any of those other oxidizers, colloidal silver is an oxidizer. So colloidal silver, hydrogen peroxide, ozone, chlorine dioxide. These are all oxidizers. That's what they do chemically. If they help something, it means that either your oxidative system is slower than it should be. If you have an issue that is caused by toxins and you take an oxidizer to help it, and it gets better for a while because you're not fixing the root cause. If it gets better or that acute condition goes away, you help to break down the toxins that were part of that. You help to you gave your oxidative detox system more power. Switch to a better gasoline, put a little nitro in your engine, whatever you want to say. You helped it. Do you want to have to take ozone forever? No. Are we getting people better without ozone? Yes. Is it possible that if, let's say, somebody out there was eating lots of crap foods and they were really into ozone and that they take in a bunch of toxicity? Well, the thing you have to know is that when you oxidize toxins, if you're taking in a bunch of toxins, as like with vitamin A, as toxins oxidize, they turn into worse toxins along the way. This is called biotransformation. We talk about this a lot. You're going to turn most vitamin A into retinoic acid in your system before you get rid of it. That's the most toxic form. You almost have to go through that process before you get rid of it. I mean, you can get rid of some of it without that, but most of it's going to go through that process. So this is why this is another reason why we always try to stop or reduce or minimize intoxing before we start detoxing. I've seen lots of testimonials on MMS websites where people are like, I used it and it got rid of cancer. And then 5 years later, I got cancer again and I used it again. And then I got it again and then I used it again. And you go, what are you doing wrong there, buddy? Why is it coming back? Because they're probably doing the health nuttery diets, or they just think they can just do whatever they want and fix it with a compound. And they keep putting toxins in, causing the same basic problems. We want to stop intoxing first. That is the most important thing. A toxin you never put into your body doesn't have to be detoxed. A toxin that doesn't go into your body doesn't become a worse toxin along the way. A toxin that doesn't go into your body doesn't deplete nutrients to process it. A toxin that doesn't go into your body doesn't give you symptoms or cause you disease. Once it's in there, or as the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That's where this comes from. We always first stop putting the poisons in. So, you asked about how does it help its relationship with clearing vitamin A and copper and vitamin D, et cetera. Well, that would be another example of, like, let's say somebody who has tons of copper in their system or tons of iron in their system, and they were pushing oxidizers too hard. Well, when you oxidize iron and copper, they turn into worse forms too. You want your body to control this as much as possible. You want your body making glutathione, which is an antioxidant. You want your body running your ADH and ALDH and cytochrome P450 systems and P-glycoprotein systems. We want to try to stay out of the way of those. Toxins get in the way of them. We want to make sure you're getting your flush niacin, your nicotinic acid, so that you can make NAD, so you can run all of these detox systems. So think just ozone is moving things along the oxidative pathway. Why can these oxidizers seem to be fixing things amazingly? And let me just tell you, my mom has Parkinson's-like syndrome. I took her to a local guy. They did the blood, the IV ozone, 10 treatments, didn't do squat. Didn't do a dang thing for her. Am I saying it doesn't work? No, I'm saying, but if you're having to put ozone, take it orally, put it on your head, do what else did you say? Drinking it in the water. Like, okay, first of all, you can over-oxidize yourself. It's a balance. Like, life is a balance between oxidation and antioxidation. So if you are taking, just like people with their vitamin D supplements, they're like, but your body makes it, so why can't I take rat poison in a pill? Because it's very easy to overdo. And how are you going to know that you're overdoing it until you've overdone it? When do you find out you've been poisoned? When you're poisoned. When you finally realize it. So, this is why, again, almost everything out there in the nutritional and supplement world is, they're like obsessed with nutrients and they're obsessed with doing more stuff, putting more stuff in. The more stuff you put in, the more your liver has to deal with. Your liver has to deal with everything that comes into your body, good or bad. Maybe just like, I'm trying to think of I use the liver as a bouncer analogy a lot. Like, if there's just tons of people out there waiting in line to get into the club, they're just going to be waiting a long time because the bouncer has to look at everybody and say, you're good. We don't want you. You're okay. You're okay. We don't want you. Like, that's what your liver has to do. So now if the bouncer is constantly working on the line, then bad things can happen inside and they can't do both at once. You understand? The less work your liver has to do overall, the better. And how do we do that? Well, the biggest thing you can do, you can't change the poisons inside of your liver right away. First thing you can do is stop putting poisons in so you reduce the work on the liver. That's always the thing. If you have an active issue, that's when oxidizers can become helpful. Okay? That's when you have an active issue that's not normal, especially like an acute issue. That is potentially when oxidizers are the most useful. I do not suggest people use oxidizers on a daily basis, like as like a nutrient supplement. Because if anything, like the adaptations that we have to, let's say, taking hormones, like, so does the body's, if you take hormones, your body is lazy and it tries to conserve energy. So we can think of a positive way. It tries to conserve energy. So if you don't have to make hormones, your body says, oh, we're going to make less. We're just going to rely on the hormones coming in and we're going to make less. Okay, well, does your oxidative system do that too if you take oxidizers from the outside? And then could you potentially, oxidation is a way of breaking things down. Like when you look at paint out on signs and it's fading and it's chipping, that's oxidation. Rust is oxidation. The iron's literally, just slowly falling apart. Oxidation is the breakdown of things. So if you over oxidize, can you over break down stuff in your system? Yes. So we don't want to just look at it and go, Dr. Smith loves oxidation. Let's push. No, you'll break something. Yeah. We are trying here. It's funny that so many people out there use the word empowerment and they don't understand what the heck they're talking about. We are here purposely trying to give your body more of what it wants and to not put things into your body that it doesn't want, so that we then empower your body to do the healing that it is meant to do and is designed to do and can do. We're just helping get the stuff out of the way, give it the raw materials, and then get the toxins out of the way that block it. So, like I said, oxidizers, I listed 4 of them. I'm not a huge fan of, colloidal silver can be used, but the real scientific thing is that science is not sure that we can clear this. There's a good and bad to this. I want you to understand this. And this is why we can use our big brains here to think about these things. Science is not sure that that you can clear silver out of your cells. It's not sure. Okay. Silver is an oxidizer. Colloidal silver is an oxidizer. Now, there was a guy, I don't have this paper, I'd love to get it, but there was supposedly a doctor who tested people's silver levels. And from what I remember, the statement of him was that as people had higher silver levels in their system, he was saying their immunity was better, their immune system worked better. Okay. For whatever that means. So that's where you get into colloidal silver may have a more permanent effect if you put it in and it gets into the cells and it can't get out. Well, that silver is still there oxidizing things. Right? When if somebody does something stupid and drinks way too much silver of any type and they turn grayish or bluish like argyria, you don't hear that goes away. So now we also haven't seen a lot of stuff on longevity of people who turn themselves blue or gray. I don't know. Do they live longer? Maybe. Just so you know, if you ever turn yourself blue or gray from too much silver, apparently laser tattoo removal, a lot of treatments can help make it go away. How does that work? I don't know. Well, just like laser tattoo removal, you're breaking down the things that are causing. You're probably breaking down the silver proteins. So anyway, that's the oxidizers rant for today. I took an oxidizer for a while on a daily basis, and so did some other people in the program. And that's how we kind of figured out that, yes, you can chronically overdo oxidizers too. Just another little screw up that we made that gets to benefit everyone else from here on out. So let's see. So anyway, Brandon, I'm glad you're using this work to help other people. That is the goal. And thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Did I mark these? Yes, there we go. Okay. So the next one, let me see. Oh, well, since we're on this note, my online training seminar, we will be announcing it soon. Yeah. So I'm going to be training lay people. Like if you want to learn how to read hair tests and blood tests like I do, I will be teaching you. I will be teaching practitioners. I will be teaching anyone who wants to learn, because I do not think that this knowledge should be kept from people. And nowadays, if you can order your own hair test through me, you can order your own blood test through me, you can get them on your own other places. Information is power. Well, information can also, you can use it to screw yourself up, which is what a lot of people are doing with hair tests and blood tests these days. But our plan is to give you the tools that I use to help people get better every day. So we will be announcing that soon. Very exciting. And then, yeah, Hope and Kelsey are now our practitioners and their stuff is up in the store. So we have, let's see. CEW, thank you for the super chat. Says looked up BPC 157 and KPV peptides. I have heard of BPC 157. I have not heard of KPV peptides on Google. And Liver Talk saw nothing glaring, but curious to know your opinion. To aid in healing gastritis/esophagitis, charcoal and fiber are helping. Thank you. Okay. I have not gotten deep into the peptides thing. And there is a reason for this. First of all, I'm just going to say, if you choose with your health to experiment with these peptides, if I was going to use them, I would not take the pills. Peptides, your stomach and your digestion is meant to break down proteins and peptides into the smallest pieces that it possibly can. It then absorbs them and then tries to reassemble them. Maybe some slip through because you have leaky gut, or somebody has leaky gut. Maybe they absorb through the stomach before they get down too far for digestion. Some of them get in. Or they hit your liver and your liver breaks them apart, because that's what your liver does. So if I were personally choosing to use peptides, I would not swallow them. I would get them around the digestive system in any number of ways. Injection, nasal spray. If they made a sublingual, I would not, if there was a topical, I would do anything to get it around the digestive system, especially if your digestive system, I wouldn't just, I'd personally, because I'm like I'm also in the medical field and I'm a little more aggressive. If I chose to do anything with those, I would inject them myself. But that's easy for me. I used to be the B12 shot king of Tucson for several years. One day in practice, I gave 40 B12 shots. So yeah, I mean, I'm a good injector. My dad was an amazing dentist who did his dental injections. People came to his funeral and they talked about how good he was at injections. That's how good my dad was. And I'm quite skilled at it myself. Just never wanted to do it as a day-to-day thing. Now, in terms of gastritis, and you're saying charcoal and fiber are helping. Well, this makes sense. This is what we do. Your gastritis and your esophagitis are caused by toxic bile. For those of you who haven't seen my GERD show, you should watch my GERD show. I forget which episode that is, but Joe will put that up on the screen in a sec. But my GERD show goes over that. So charcoal and fiber are helping because it's adsorbing the toxic bile that is causing the esophagitis and the gastritis. Okay. Now, so we understand based on your results and the research that I've presented that your esophagitis and your gastritis are caused by toxic bile. You are adsorbing it. You are getting relief from your symptoms. You may want it to go faster. Okay. That's human nature. Now, trying to think of how to say this. If you decided to use peptides, is it a Band-Aid or is it fixing the root cause? Well, it's a Band-Aid. It's somehow stimulating your body to do something that it either can't do or doesn't want to do faster than it has been. The thing that concerns me about peptides, long term. First of all, there's not a lot of long-term research in humans on these peptides. That's the reality of it. So, people can show all sorts of stuff that they want in cells and maybe in mice, but show me long-term research in humans in this stuff. I haven't seen much of it. Everybody's just like, this one's good for this, and this one's good for this, and this one's good for this. It seems like, here's what it seems like to me. It seems like a free lunch, and there is no such thing as a free lunch. So if you're taking these things and it's doing something to heal something without actually requiring anything else, it seems like a free lunch. I don't tend to trust that very much. And right now I get enough results with what we do that here's the problem. I'm going to tell you, there are people out there abusing these peptides daily. Does it make sense to you that, let's say, these peptides accelerate your healing process, but they're pulling from your stores? They're pulling from your nutrient stores. They may be, this is just the idea, they may be turning over stem cells really, really fast. Do you have an infinite amount of healing capacity in your body to draw from? Probably not. Infinite is not something that is associated with this life, this existence, this matrix that we're in. It's not, it doesn't tend to be infinite. And people will say it is, and then I go, okay, show me. And they're like, but this author said it is. I'm like, I don't care. So if you are, does it make sense that if people are abusing these peptides, that they're going to run out of the boost at some point? There's only there's that saying in that drug users have, which is chasing the dragon, right? Nothing's ever as good as the first high, they say. The first high is it. Like, that's the peak. And then they're always trying to take more or to do other things to potentially get there again, because they can't. When something is novel or new, that's when you get the biggest impact from it. So what about peptides? Probably the first time people use peptides, they're going to get the biggest effect. Okay. But then people are just cycling them. They just go off of them and they go on them again, and then they go off of them and they go on them again. Or maybe they're not even cycling them because they just think, I don't know why people think that these peptides, people have assumed that these peptides are completely safe. And I just don't know. The research from what I've seen is not there. I go to I've been to peptide websites and I don't see a lot of references being thrown around. It would be wonderful if it's true. Do I think there's kind of that thing in the Bible about in the end times, all these wonders will happen. I think some of the medical stuff is part of that. The med beds and all these things where you can just go and lay on it. It'll heal you. And I'm like, oh boy, just swallow these peptides. It will heal you. Just lay in this med bed. It will heal you. You don't have to do any work. That sounds like the words of a bad guy. You don't have to do any work. You can just be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do, and then just fix all the problems. I'll fix all the problems for you. That's not the direction I tend to go in. So if you mess with them, as I've told people, this is the reality. People who work with me have asked about peptides, work with me directly. And I say, I don't have any experience with them. If you go and you mess yourself up with it, I don't know how to fix it other than doing the normal stuff that we do, and you get off that crap. So if something happens, I don't know how to fix it because I have no experience with fixing it. So that's basically, you're trying to put what you're saying here with the peptides, your engine, which is your health. You've got gastritis and esophagitis. Your health is not where it should be, where you want it. So think of this as your car's engine is still dirty and gunked up. You're trying to put peptides, a turbocharger, on your gunked up engine. You put a turbocharger on a gunked up engine, the gunk and the wear and tear are still there, and you may burn out your engine in certain ways quicker. Just like using, the sicker you are, if there's a finite healing capacity, the more of that you're going to use up because there's more resistance in the engine, if you will. You have to push harder to do it. So also, being that these peptides are research chemicals, I'm not going to give a lot of advice or guidance on them in a public forum ever. That's just the nature of medicine these days. So, but that's what I got on that. If you decide to do it, I just don't think the oral, if I were doing it, I wouldn't waste my time on the oral. If you have gastritis and esophagitis, if you chose to do oral because you didn't want to do any other, if I chose to do oral because I didn't want to do any other way and I'm scared of needles and I don't want to snort it up my nose like in a nasal spray or whatever, if I was trying to get it to address my esophagus and my stomach, I would chew up the tablets or break them up into powder, put them in water, and drink them that way, just like I tell people to do with charcoal, so that you're getting it applied to the esophagus and the stomach all the way down. And I would probably sip it so it would go down in little pulses rather than just like a big wash through. So, okay. Ramon, Dr. Lustig says to try to have grass-fed, grass-finished meat as often as possible. What say you? It tastes ugly. Congrats on more than 8,000 subs. Well, thank you very much, Ramon. Ramon is, as I always say, he's a very regular super chatter here, and thank you for that. Grass-fed, grass-finished. Okay, I'm just going to generally say, somebody actually, Fit at 45 Plus said this on Twitter, I think just yesterday. He said one of the hills he was willing to die on, now he didn't say anything about nutrition here, is he said that grain-fed beef tastes better than grass-fed beef. That was what he said. And he is a health nut. Like, I'm sure he eats grass-fed beef. That would be my guess. I'm sure that he does eat it. He was just saying that grain-fed tastes better. Somebody out there is already getting their panties in a bunch about me saying this, and that's fine, whatever. Like the guy here in town, one of the guys I used to buy meat from, he was like a real cowboy. I mean, he went to the farmer's market. He's old, skinny guy, boots, the hat, the mustache. Like he was cool. He was really cool. He's also the guy who said to me, I've said this before, he asked me if I was sure I had never been a rancher or a farmer, because the way I looked at human health, I would go to the farmer's market and I would chat with him. And he said, and I helped helped him fix his back by referring him to Original Strength. If you don't know what Original Strength is, originalstrength.net. Those three things that I talked about, mewing and the Fit at 45 Plus fascial book, and then originalstrength.net. If you got physical muscle health problems, if you did the Love Your Liver program and you got those three things done, you would probably fix 99% of your stuff. I'm pretty sure of that. Have I done all of them? Well, I'm working on the mewing now, and the Fit at 45 Plus thing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a different chair here for my office that he recommends, so you can, it's a better way of sitting. I see his logic to it, and it's great. It's a 75-page book. You can get through it in like a day easy. So, is grain-fed? Oh, and he's European, I believe. I don't believe he's here in the States. So anyway, if you don't, so the guy I was talking to, the farmer, he used to always, he would ask me if I was a rancher or a farmer, because I talked like that. And I was like, the only thing that matters is what happens to the animal or what happens to the human. I don't care what the research says. He was big on, he didn't like academics. He was like, all this crap they're teaching the ranchers and the farmers in these colleges is garbage. And I'm like, I know. So he has cows out in the desert, like eating, as he terms it, scrub brush, jojoba bushes, right? Jojoba oil. So they're eating jojoba bushes. And he specifically said that it will taste different than any other meat you've eaten because of what it's made of, right? You are what you eat. And he said, you really have to cook it at low temperatures because it is so lean, because these cows are out wandering around the desert, the rocky desert all day. I mean, meat's a lot of water too. So if they have a tough time getting enough water, then they're not going to be as hydrated, if you will. Anyway, Do I think it is healthier to eat grass-fed, grass-finished beef? Yes, I do. Might grain-fed taste better? Yes, but I don't want all the other the implications of a cow being grain, well, almost the implications of a cow being grain finished. I don't like the ideas of what they're probably giving them, and I just don't want to deal with all that unknown. So I'm going to say that you may not like it as much. If you're eating grass-fed, grass-finished, you may not like the taste of it, but I do think it's better for you. And that's what I would always choose that. I would always choose grass-fed, and then, then we might get into organic, and then, only then would the choices get into grain-fed or grain-fed organic. So you can't always get what you want. Like somebody was posting on Twitter today about how they eat in airports, and they were saying, go to an Asian place and buy some rice, and then go to a burger place and get some burger patties and just cut it all up and mash it all together. Okay, sure, it works. It's airport food. So is it organic? No. Is there probably problems even with the rice? Of course. Is it better than 98% of the other crap in the airport? Yeah, sure. Yeah. So we do with what we can. So when you can make the choice of getting grass finished, I would do that. If you're not going to get grass finished, then I would make sure it's organic. That's what I got on that. So, Joe in the background was saying, my guy in the background here says, like, don't ozonate water with chlorine in it. Results in toxic byproducts. Yeah, this is one of the things that can happen with ozone things. Yeah, you start oxidizing things, and you can create chloramines and all. It's, you got to be careful with all these things. As we say here, this is not a game. So just because you read some dumbass write something on the internet or say it on a YouTube doesn't mean that it's right. People on the internet lie all the time. Why do you think I show you guys my research all the time? Why do you think I show you all these links instead of me just saying, this is the way it is, believe it to be true? I don't do that. I'm the guy. Always remember, I'm the guy out here in the vitamin A detox toxicity world, showing all the research all the time, weekly. So, so CEWs, thank you for the super chat, said, thank you again. So on point. By the way, miss your old stories about the mango lady, the skinny Mexican cows, the GERD guy that lives on an orange farm, etc. Yeah. I mean, I have all these stories. They're out there. You can always just go and binge watch the old episodes and you can hear them all again. Oh yeah, let me just read this. So thank you for that. Yeah, I'll try to get more stories as we go. Kelsey was saying, if a vet okays ivermectin use for a cow, they are allowed to administer it and still call it organic. So organic is not as organic as you'd like to think, right? There may be grass-finished farmers out there who will not do this stuff. And maybe it's not even marked organic. That's the thing, is if you have the time and the willingness to go and meet the farmers and talk to them. Like, there's a huge guy in Tucson who sells grass-finished beef. And then there's my other guy, the jojoba beef guy. I can tell you that when you cook those, I know the jojoba guy is disgusted with the big-time grass-finished guy. He's disgusted with their practices. He could probably talk about it for hours. And when you get ground beef from the two of them and you cook it, there is a massive difference between them. The amount of fat on the mainstream guy is way higher. So I went by both the qualities. I need to get back to buying the jojoba beef from that guy. And he, like he says it, he's like, it's going to taste weird to you at the start. But yeah, don't believe. They will give ivermectin and antibiotics and all sorts of stuff to cattle who are organic too. Yeah. Maybe it's because they give them so much vitamin A that they got to give them this crap, right? So let's see. Let me go back up to the top and find some more questions because we're through all the super chats. So, hello, Baptized in Fire. Hello, Zendog. Hello, Headwood. Let's see. I did that one. Okay, Alex 910 Gaming says, any concern with accumulation of anything from only eating bison or oats every day? I do soak overnight and rinse in the morning. Well, okay, so this is the reality. I talk about this in the iron episode. Think of it like this. Could someone who is eating, does it make sense that if somebody ate red meat 3 times a day, every day, and they could not clear all that iron from their system, that they could get iron overload from it? Why not? Like, it's like a bank account, right? If you take in more than you can get rid of, the bank account goes up. Well, iron, if you take in more and you can't get rid of it, could you be getting more than you can excrete? Sure. People could eat not enough iron and lose their account, right? Because they're not taking in as much as they excrete. One of the things I tell people about red meat is great. Do I want to? I don't even feel like necessarily eating red meat 3 times a day. I've kind of found do I eat poultry? Yeah, I do eat poultry. I don't eat red meat all the time. That's the way I've found that I feel best. Okay, fine, right? Like, there's going to be some people about, Dr. Smith can't eat red meat 3 times a day. I can. I feel better when I don't. Y'all just don't understand that, like, health is not one size fits all. And just because somebody does better on a slightly different version of our diet doesn't mean that they're weak or they're broken. It means that we're teaching people how to listen to their bodies. Amazing, some of these people out there. So I don't want to, I feel if I were to eat red meat 3 times a day, I would feel a bit sluggish after a while. Okay, so I don't do it. I'll probably have like some turkey for lunch with whatever else I decide to have with it. Okay, big deal. So just know that if you are, don't go into this vitamin A detox stuff thinking that just because Grant ate beef or bison every day, my whole body of work was partially intended to help people with the vitamin A detox without having to eat the prison diet of Grant Genereux every day. It's quite simple. There's no reason that you have to eat red meat 3 times a day. We have some people who don't even eat it once a day. It's not a one size fits all. I've had some people come to me and they're just like a woman and her husband. We could not get their ferritin below 200 just doing the normal program. And I was getting a little confused. And so what do? Do I blame the client? No. I go, maybe I've missed something, or maybe there's something that they haven't told me, or there's something that we could fix in here. Not my fault, not their fault, just there's something that needs to be addressed that isn't being addressed. So when after I saw those ferritins come back, and I saw she actually, for a while, I think on one of her tests, she and her husband went to eating more poultry instead of red meat, and their ferritin came down just from that. And I remember asking her, I said, how do you feel when you eat red meat? She's like, I just don't feel as good when I eat it. I said, okay, then just don't eat it so much. Like, and then we started as we got more of her tests back, we saw that eating red meat twice a week had her ferritin at a certain level. Eating it every day had it higher. And we could actually manipulate her ferritin by how many times she ate red meat in a week. Does it work that way for everybody? No. But like, also, can we fix high ferritin levels? Yes, over time. If somebody's running a ferritin of like 400, 500, 600, 700, it'd probably help you fix that iron overload problem if you ate red meat a little less often instead of 3 times a day. Does that make sense? Right? It's easier to detox when you don't put so much of it in. Can we still fix it? Yes, because the high ferritin in the blood is a liver problem. Can we do blood donations? Sure. Can we do lactoferrin to bind to some of the excess iron? Sure. Yeah. So, but eating oats every day. So let's go into the oats. Any plant food is going to have some copper in it. That's the nature of plant foods. Plant foods have more copper. Obviously, muscle meat has more iron. Like, it's a balance. You don't get to avoid copper if you're eating plant foods. So there's that. And then some people we've found, if you've been doing the low vitamin A thing for a while and you're still having some issues with certain foods, or you can't figure out why you still have like vitamin A symptoms with certain foods, or you just can't figure it out, you may be, once in a while, we get people who are extremely sensitive to lutein, Lutein. If you suspect this might be you, go look up the highest lutein foods. You can go look up Sarah's diet, SARA''S, Sarah's diet. They obsess about lutein. They think lutein is like this horrible toxin, neurotoxin, all this stuff. But then they have people take cod liver oil. It's really quite entertaining. And what I think we've seen over the years is that they used to say, like late 90s, that they would see improvements in the autistic kids they worked with. Like 50% of them would improve a lot on a low lutein diet. 20% of them would improve a little bit, and 30% of them wouldn't improve at all, or something like that. It was something like that. And I'm going, well, that's because when they took out lutein, they took out most high vitamin A foods. But then they still thought that vitamin A was a vitamin, so they'd have these kids taking cod liver oil. And I'm like, oh, ooh, so close. They're so close. That's too bad. They will still argue that vitamin A is necessary, but lutein is super toxic, and I get kind of a kick out of that. So anyway, but so if somebody was sensitive to lutein, we have some people who are so sensitive to lutein that they have to really focus on avoiding lutein. And this, one of the people who I know who has this, he's asked me multiple times, like, what's the deal? Like, how can I fix this? How can I break out of this pattern? And I said, I don't know. That I tried to look it up. It doesn't go through the normal detox pathways. Just so you know, lutein does trigger the what they call the retinoic acid receptors. So lutein does absolutely have retinoic acid activity, which is toxic, but it doesn't go through the same detox pathways. So lutein could be an issue for people who definitely, if you know that you have reactions to certain foods on kind of the low vitamin A list that you think you shouldn't, you might want to look up lutein and see if you are a lutein sensitive person, because that, it sucks. But at least once you know if you're that type, at least you know, and you then have the choice of doing what you choose to do about it. So, okay. Alex910 Gaming says, how about concerns of eating bananas or apples out of season? They certainly start tasting off. Well, that's up to you. There's people out there on Twitter who are trying to say that if you eat out of season fruits and vegetables, it's going to like totally screw up your mitochondria. Oh my God. And I'm like, you want to know what screws up your mitochondria? Eating poison. So a banana or an apple, a low toxin food out of season, is still a low toxin food. A high toxin food in season is still a high toxin food. It's funny that this logic is missed by so many people. Yeah. It may not taste as good. Okay. Do the apples still have pectin in them? Yeah, that's helpful. Does the banana still have lots of potassium in it? Does the potassium disappear because it's out of season? No. Minerals don't just up and leave out of a whole fruit. So if you don't like the taste of them, don't eat them. Okay. I'm going to continue to eat bananas year round because they do wonders for me. I eat apples on occasion. They're just not something that I pursue. I probably should eat them more often, but bananas are easy to eat. Apples are easy to eat too. I just don't know why. I'm very intuitive and I listen to my body and I just want bananas. I don't really, if I have a choice in the morning I only eat fruit like once a day most days. I have 2 bananas in the morning. I don't really want apples in the morning. It's too much of a pain to eat. So, which is funny. That's like a chewing joke. I'm actually chewing that hard gum, the mastic gum. So it's not like apples are hard to eat for me when I chew on that mastic gum for like way longer than I'm supposed to. But it's a pain. So I talked about the David Stevens glucose program. First of all, I want to see the 1,500 testimonials because we just got another anecdote the other day from somebody who started adding a bunch of glucose / dextrose, same stuff, to their program. And they realized that, this was a mistake, and they started messing themselves up with it. And then they stopped, and then the problems went away. Powdered sugar is not saving anybody. It may reduce their symptoms because it's basically a comfort food. And you provide some extra glucose to the system. Okay. Nobody's ever said eating sweet foods made them feel better, right? Oh man, like that's the biggest comfort food. What do people crave when they're stressed? Glucose. Does that mean their brain is dying of not enough glucose? No. Do they feel better after they eat their Dairy Queen garbage bullshit? Yeah, they feel better for a little while. We have the place where you should question him is where he says he has like what, a 99% or 100% success rate. What a crock of shit. I'm not going to hold back on that because I've already seen failures, multiple failures in this short time they've experimented with. I bet by this time next year, nobody will be talking about glucose and dextrose. Just like probably by this time next year, nobody's going to be talking about methylene blue because that's toxic garbage too. There's a honeymoon effect. People started, not only is there placebo, they want it to work, but it's slowing detox. Glucose and dextrose slow detox, slows ALDH specifically, and it makes aldehydes. But you can get a honeymoon effect from any of these things by shutting down detox. And eventually, after you shut down detox long enough, the dam breaks, and then stuff just starts spilling out of the liver where it's been confined, and finally cells are bursting open and bile ducts are leaking and all this stuff. It's like building up behind a dam, and eventually the dam's going to break. So they are trying to push high doses of almost anything they can these days. There's these people saying you need to get 8 grams of salt a day. There's the methylene blue. There's let's take in tons of glucose and dextrose sugar powder. There's the high fat diets. There's the high vitamin A diets. They're trying to get people to drink copper out of copper water bottles. There's the copper revolution people. There's the protocol people. They are trying to, there's the high vitamin A Weston Price people. Anything you see that is pushing mega doses of anything is a psyop, whether they know it or not. Like drinking 8 grams of salt a day in your water is not going to fix any problem. If you have if you need tons of salt, and yes, 8 grams a day is a lot of salt. If you need that much salt in a day to function better, you have a deeper problem that is affecting your sodium balance. The sodium may help. It's a Band-Aid or a crutch. What we see in our program is as we fix the deeper issues, the need for the excess sodium goes away. That's how we know it's a crutch. Why do people need spoonfuls of sugar a day? Because it's a crutch. It's a Band-Aid. It's a honeymoon effect. Why do you not see anyone now? Find me somebody who's been shoveling glucose down their throat for 10 years and they attribute all their health problems going away to it. Find a 2-year person. Find a 5-year person. Show me. We have 5-year people. We have Grant, who's almost at 10 years. People who are saying this doesn't work, we have a 10-year person, and I'm at 6 years as of September. 6 years. How many of your other diet fads out there, the influencers out there, like Mito Life guy flip-flopping like every year or two on his diet and the cause of all disease? We're not flip-flopping. Oh, I changed my mind on niacin. Oh, no. Oh. So, Brandon says, thank you for the other super chat. Brandon, actually, wait. Let me see. Joe asked me, is there an episode that addresses bipolar? WVids would like to see one. I will consider it. We do have the depression episode. That's I think about the closest one. I don't know what episode number it is. It's hard to keep track of them all. We got 158 of them now. So, yeah, Brandon's super chat. Here we go. Thanks again, Brandon. Curious your thoughts surrounding which food to introduce first for someone who's been stuck on carnivore for 7 years but is seeing results with sun fiber. If you don't know, we sell organic sun fiber. We actually I have to get the new order in ASAP so we don't run out of that one. And what is your favorite food that goes against your principles? What is my favorite food that goes against my principles? Okay. So, oh, wow. So a carnivore for 7 years who is trying to get into the program, they are doing well on sun fiber. Well, first, you could ride the sun fiber train. If you don't know, like we sell organic sun fiber, everybody. It's not easy to get. We have it in pound bags. Just go to the store, the store at nutritiondetective.com. If you're in the Love Your Liver program, you can go to the VIP store and get it there. So for a carnivore to get into the Love Your Liver framework, do they have to rush into it? No, they don't have to rush. Generally, the first thing we do, Brandon, it sounds like you've been listening to what I'm putting down out there. The first thing we would start with is probably a more processed fiber, which is what sun fiber is. So for anybody who reads about, sun fiber is guar gum, well, no, it's partially hydrolyzed guar gum. They have basically pre-digested the guar gum into smaller pieces that basically have been turned into food for your bifido and your lactobacillus in your gut. So think of sun fiber as mainly a prebiotic. It's feeding your gut bacteria. It doesn't, like when you mix it in water, it doesn't mix thick. Like you can mix it in water and hardly know it's there. So it doesn't adsorb bile as much. So, but are we feeding, is a 7-year carnivore definitely feeding their gut biome and their bifido by eating it? Yes, absolutely. They might try other fibers first. They might try apple pectin. My goal is to work on an apple pectin powder supplement of my own eventually, hopefully organic if I can do it. Psyllium needs to be organic. If you're going to do psyllium, psyllium does gel. The nice thing about psyllium for some people's digestion is that it does have insoluble fiber in it also. It's not just soluble. The insoluble fiber, some people's guts do a lot better with that in there too. So I would just experiment with the isolated fibers. You could experiment with glucomannan, which is a very, very gelling fiber. I just don't have much experience with it. So yeah, you could start with those fibers. And then what a carnivore might do, who is a recovering carnivore, would be to think of the foods that they used to eat that are in the framework of what we do. So like for me in my history, let's say I was an all muscle meat carnivore. I've said before that like I could live, if somebody told me you only get 2 foods to eat for the rest of your life, 2 different foods, I would say beef and bananas. Somebody said 3 foods. I'd probably do beef and bananas and apples. I know I do really well on bananas. My mom still tells the story about how when I was a little kid and I used to eat like 2 or 3 bananas a day. I ate so many, I got sick of them for a while. And then I stopped eating them for 10 or 15 years. I just wouldn't eat them. And then I got back into eating them again. And now I eat 2 almost every day. That's the big thing we watch for in this house is we're like, because I think my mom has a banana most days. I have 2. So we go through bananas pretty quick here. It's always, do we need bananas at the store? So the foods that are in the framework that the person remembers before they were a carnivore that they did well on. That's probably a good sign their body likes that. And then just, they can start slow with it. Like, remember, if you're new to beans, like 2 tablespoons a day for 2 weeks. 2 tablespoons a day of beans for 2 weeks. If you don't tolerate them after that, you don't have to eat them or try a different bean. You might just not get along. Like kidney beans always made me feel bloaty. Kidney beans have a really strong lectin in them. That's not real great for people. Not only are they're very bright red too, which means they do have vitamin A in them and lots of polyphenols. So kidney beans are not a great choice. But as an example, like let's say I tried those and I didn't feel great. Okay, why don't I try navy beans, which are a white bean? Probably less vitamin A and polyphenols and toxins in them because of the color. You can tell by the color. It doesn't mean you can't eat black beans, because what color are black beans on the inside? They're all white. So there's not that much of it that is actually the black part of the black bean. It will stain the rest of the beans blackish, purplish, yes, but it doesn't mean that the insides are that color. If you cut open a dry black bean, it's white on the inside. So most beans are white on the inside. So what is my favorite food that goes against my principles? I mean, I'm trying to think, because like, as I have decided recently, like if I go out, if anybody out there's ever wondering, or if I go out to dinner and it's like a special dinner, or it's like my birthday dinner, or I'm going to meet somebody for something special for, you know, like a meeting, I'm going to a Brazilian steakhouse. Like, I really like meat. And when I go to a Brazilian steakhouse, I'm getting lamb. Like I'm telling those servers, like, bring the lamb, bring the lamb, bring the lamb. Like, stop bringing me all this other stuff. Just bring out the lamb. Of course, I'll eat beef, and then they can take the pork and chicken and just whatever. I'm not there to eat pork and chicken. So anyway, that's not really a cheat. That fits in the framework. I'm trying to think of. I mean, it's probably, honestly, pizza. If I had to choose something that's outside of the program, probably pizza. Yep. So doesn't mean I have it often, but once in a while, everybody, like, okay, listen to this. Doing this program does not mean you can never cheat. It doesn't mean that. The sicker you are, the more a cheat has the potential to make you feel bad or set you back, right? Your car's not as clean as it needs to be yet. So you try to run crappy gas in it, it's going to run even worse, and it's going to get dirtier for a bit until you go back to the cleaner gas, right? So just, you need to know that if you do it, the good news about this is, let's say you do that, and if you feel worse, then you go, oh, wow, that really is not good for me. I'm going to have to explain it again. People, just because you feel good on something doesn't mean it's good for you. People feel relief, or they feel better when they smoke a cigarette, or when they drink coffee, or when they eat cheesecake. Just when they eat eggs, for all you egg cells out there listening. These things, that just because you feel a lot of people say they get a lot of energy from eating liver. Okay, do you know that copper is a very stimulating toxic metal to your nervous system? Insecticides like caffeine are very stimulating to your nervous system. Insecticides like nicotine in plants is very stimulating to your nervous system. Why do you think people like stimulants? Well, it gives me energy, right? So these things are toxic by nature. Do people feel better on them? Yes. must we know the deeper purpose of these things so that we can decide whether it is good for you in your framework? That's what we do here. I don't care about the studies showing, oh, cigarette smokers have a little bit more testosterone than non-cigarette smokers, because all I have to do is look at long-term smokers and they look like shit. Someone will be like, oh, well, it's all the other choices they make. I don't know. I'm going to look at the long-term smokers and I'm going to make a prejudiced decision against them because they look like shit. They sound like shit. They smell like shit. They look like they age faster. What study do you need? Right? Like, I'm still waiting to see all these long-term smokers when they're 70. They started when they're 30 because smoking's good for you. And I'm like, okay, come back when you're 60 and we'll compare how we look. Okay, go ahead, smokers. Like, go ahead. Anyway. Let's see. So let me address this. Rare Pepe said it's the glucose thing. The glucose dextrose thing is not long-term. It's only for 6 months. What disease do you think it makes go away in 6 months? What disease do you think taking spoonfuls of sugar makes go away that isn't going to come back? I want to know, what toxicity is it fixing? What deficiency is it fixing? If you're saying there's a glucose deficiency, what does it fix? It gives glucose. Is that a root cause, or is the glucose deficiency going to come back? We just have to use our brain like this. Is it well known that taking glucose or dextrose for 6 months will fix hypoglycemics? Wouldn't those be the people we know that it should fix? Might it fix their symptoms during the time they're taking it? Sure, you're adding glucose to a system that is not putting enough glucose into the blood. The body has an amazing capacity to turn fat and protein and glycogen in the body into sugar. Your body can basically eat itself to make glucose anytime it wants to. Why does it not constantly eat itself to make glucose if more of it is better and more of it is going to fix the system? Why can't the body just fix itself like that? Maybe because too much glucose in the system slows ALDH, one of your really important detox enzymes. And your body doesn't want to do that. So your body will try to keep the glucose levels where it wants them. You can shove them in there, and it's a Band-Aid. But I'm waiting to see the people who do it for just 6 months, and then 6 months later, they're like, oh yeah, all my diseases are still gone. They disappeared in the 6 months, and 6 months later, they're still gone. I want those testimonials. I don't see them. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to believe a guy who says he fixes things in 6 months with sugar just because he says it. That's like that's the start of a snake oil thing. I fix diseases. Actually, I had like 3 testimonials I was supposed to read today, but I forgot to bring them on. We're fixing things in people that they've had for years, over time. And then as they continue to do these things, like if somebody says, well, are they going to stay gone forever, the vitamin A toxicity? And I'm like, well, if you go and you start supplementing it, or you start eating liver or eggs or dairy, it's going to come back. Of course you can fix alcoholism. But if somebody starts drinking again, the problems all just come right back. And actually, they come back worse than they did before. You fixed the problem. The problem was the poison coming in. You stopped putting the poison in, the problems go away. But if you put the poison back in, the problem's going to come back. If you fix a problem with more sugar, I don't know what the sugar is actually fixing mechanically in the body to make the problem go away forever. And I don't see anecdotes or testimonials. I see a guy talking. Okay. Petite Diced Weed Whacker asks, so I got to get going to the inner circle pretty soon. I only started drinking coffee at age 46 because I never benefited from that wake up effect, but go straight to anxious with a second cup. Curious what this tells me regarding your ALDH system and detox. Well, actually, let me go see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Why does caffeine cause problems? Wow. So before we go into this too much, I want to say that, oh, another super chat from Brandon. Okay, so we will get to that one. What were we on? We were on, caffeine and caffeine. Why do I believe caffeine causes a lot of anxiety? And why does it tend to cause palpitations? And why does it create this weird addiction? Well, one of the reasons potentially why is because caffeine may kick copper out of the liver into the bloodstream. Now, what are symptoms we associate with copper in the bloodstream and getting to the brain? Anxiety, jitteriness, feeling like you're buzzing, insomnia, particularly trouble falling asleep initially. Yeah. So symptoms of caffeine excess are very similar to chronic symptoms of copper toxicity. So I don't remember the exact study I found, but I'm going to try to, I pulled up a couple of papers here that I'm going to run through. You guys can look at them as I run through them, but let me do that now. I have something. I'm not sure that these papers are does this one even have copper in it? No, that one doesn't. Okay, so we can get rid of that one here. Let me get rid of that one. Let's see. So here we go. Recent consumption of a caffeine-containing beverage and serum biomarkers of cardiometabolic function in the UK Biobank. This one, no, they're giving me all these papers. I specifically searched for copper, and they're giving me all these papers that don't even have copper in them. Okay. So now somebody's going to be like, but this is a fish larva study. Well, why are they doing this? So they don't have to do it in humans, and they're trying to get started on it. We can go by the evidence that's out there. We can look at the human symptoms of excess caffeine consumption and go, these look exactly like the symptoms of copper toxicity. Okay, can we find evidence in the research that these are connected in whatever animal that they're choosing to study so they don't have to poison humans with this? Okay. Let me see. Just wait until you see me, until I do my copper and metformin and inositol and theanine episode. I think that's going to be next. Why does metformin help diabetes? Go watch my diabetes show. And then I'm going to tell you that you can find in the research that metformin binds to copper and protects you from copper. This is why people think metformin is some sort of longevity drug. It's just binding to copper. It's in the research. Here we go. Our results demonstrated that caffeine enhances the inflammation induced by copper by decreasing animal survival, altering inflammatory markers, and promoting behavioral changes in zebrafish larvae. So if you have copper toxicity, caffeine is making your copper toxicity worse. So, Brandon, no, it wasn't Brandon who said that. I forget who said that. Who was, Petite Diced Weed Whacker. Petite Diced Weed Whacker. So when you cross some threshold of caffeine intake, it is aggravating your copper toxicity, or it's causing enough copper to dump out of your liver into your bloodstream that you're getting basically copper toxicity symptoms. What does copper as a stimulant in your system? So if you're taking caffeine, which is a stimulant, and you take in too much caffeine, what is too much? Well, probably where the copper really starts dumping. And then you get uncomfortable, unpleasant symptoms that are just aggravated stimulant symptoms. Let's see if this has copper in it. No, this didn't have copper in it. Okay, too bad. So I don't remember if I found another one on this. Let me just have a quick look. Oh, did I not put up the link, Joe? I bet I didn't. Okay, you guys, I need you to stop the super chats. I really appreciate them, but I got to get to the inner circle here pretty quick. Let me just go do copper, caffeine, serum, go. Let's see what we got. Not much on PubMed. Nope. Okay, so we're gonna be all done with that. Anyway, so that was my theory. So then here's a funny thing that I've been over before, but theanine, L-Theanine, is known to take the edge off of caffeine intake, of coffee intake. L-Theanine in the research is known to help with insomnia and anxiety and excess agitation caused by caffeine or coffee. What if I were to tell you that I have a paper showing that L-Theanine chelates copper? And people take L-Theanine with caffeine to help take the edge off of it. And they might also take it at night to help with their sleep or to calm them down whenever they need it. Are you seeing the connections? This is what we do. Okay, so Brandon's super chat. Oh, let me get that link. Sorry, here's the one. Here's the zebrafish copper one. What was this one? Joe, I don't know which one. What was the other link you wanted? I got the zebrafish and copper one. You said links for those two. Okay, Brandon is asking. Last super chat. Thank you again, Brandon. What are my thoughts on tributyrin sodium butyrate as part of an addition to your principles surrounding healing the gut? Well, soluble fiber is digested by our gut bacteria into butyrate, butyric acid. So why don't we just do more fiber? Let me see if I can find this. Oh, wait, I didn't want that. Go back. Okay. Let me share. Here we go. So here's the title. Consumption of partially hydrolyzed guar gum, this is sun fiber, stimulates bifidobacteria, which is exactly what long-term ex-carnivores, ex-pure muscle meat carnivores need. I don't even talk, nose-to-tail carnivore is just a disaster long-term, over and over and over again. No one is a 10-plus year nose-to-tail carnivore eating a lot of organ meats and a lot of dairy and a lot of eggs. It doesn't last that long. All the longest term carnivores are all muscle meat. Okay. I still think it can be improved with some soluble fiber. So anyway, it stimulates bifidobacteria and butyrate producing bacteria in the human large intestine. So if you are increasing butyrate producing bacteria, they probably eat the soluble fiber and make the butyrate. So you're like feeding them so they can make more. The other thing that butyrate does is butyrate stimulates the niacin receptor as well as nicotinic acid does. I mean, they both stimulate. I don't want to say as well as. They both stimulate, so you can get kind of the impact at the, what is it, Kelsey, GPR 109A off the top of my head. You can get effect at the GPR 109A receptor with nicotinic acid, flush niacin, and butyrate. And where do you get the butyrate from? Soluble fiber. You or whoever your person was, 7-year ex-carnivore, adding sun fiber in, sun fiber's helping. It's always fun to connect all these things. So yeah, that's just soluble fiber. Let me see if we had another one here. Oh no, this was the one. This is the study with autistic kids. They gave them sun fiber, helped improve their constipation and their gut dysbiosis symptoms, and it even helped them behave less behavioral irritability in children with autism. Gosh, do you think it's connected to, do you think all this is connected to their bile? Bile, they're either not making enough or it's not in their gut. That's the constipation. Gut dysbiosis, toxic bile is causing the gut dysbiosis. Toxic bile is feeding the gut dysbiosis. And they're not pooping out the bad bacteria, so they're just sitting in there. And behavioral irritability, that is toxic bile leaking into the bloodstream, affecting their brain. I need to do an autism episode, I think. Now that new paper just came out connecting PUFAs, which turn into aldehydes, to autism spectrum disorder. And then there's the whole, the paper on autism and aldehydes. There's a whole paper connecting autism and aldehydes. So, and then I can just find out the bile situation in autism and go from there. But I'm not going to supplement, Brandon, I'm not going to supplement butyrate. I would rather improve, because that's kind of like supplementing butyrate is not going to necessarily positively impact the gut biome that is what's supposed to produce the butyrate that the gut cells feed on. Like one is like, so giving the butyrate or the butyric acid is like taking TRT, testosterone replacement. You're just giving the body something. Whereas the soluble fiber feeding the gut biome that then breaks it down into butyrate and then the body gets it, that would be improving the gut biome at the same time you're getting the end product. That would be like doing what we do where we fix toxicities and we fix deficiencies and then we see guys' testosterone go up. One is giving a man a fish and the other is teaching a man to fish. So that's, I mean, somebody could do it. I mean, we have lots of women who come to us on thyroid hormone and on hormone replacement therapy. And as we get them better, they are able to eventually take themselves off of it. Sometimes with help and guidance, sometimes they just do it on their own. Do they have, so if somebody did butyrate or butyric acid and it helps them at the start, just like hormone therapy might help someone's symptoms, that's great, but we want to be doing the work underneath it all to actually fix the problem, which would be fixing the gut biome in this situation, which is the gut biome is determined by what you eat and what is in your toxic bile. So we make the bile less toxic, we eat the right things, we get the right nutrients, the gut biome shifts, and then we give it soluble fiber so the gut bacteria can break it down and get the butyrate to stimulate, things like the GPR109A receptor. So that's that. Recent. Hold on, Joe. I'll get that recent consumption link. I don't know that I used anything from it, but I'll put it in there. Okay. Got it. Okay. There it is. Yeah, there's that one. Okay. So I got to get going to the inner circle, folks. If you don't know what the inner circle is a more live stream that I do inside the Love Your Liver network, where I can be a little more controversial in my answers because they're not going on the YouTubes. So anyway, for those of you who are new here and those of you who are old, please like and subscribe and comment and do all that stuff. It probably helps the algo, but the thing that really helps the algo the most to like us more and promote us more is simply you guys watching more time on the channel. That's what YouTube wants. They want you watching more time. That's their goal. They don't really care about comments and likes and all that stuff, but it does still help. So thank you for doing that. Otherwise, like I said, Well, I don't know why I was saying that. Like I said, there's a reason for everything. There's a reason why people are sick. There's a reason why our people are getting better. Sorry I didn't have the testimonials today. Thank you all for the super chats. I really appreciate it. And we will be back next week for episode 159. And thank you all for getting us over 8,000 subscribers, and just keep sharing it. Remember, 7 episodes, I didn't go over this, episode 71 or 53 are the basics on toxic bile theory. So if you're new here and you haven't seen those, either one of them, that is where you should start, because that's where everything will start to make more sense. So this is how we're going to change the paradigm of medicine. And this is how we, by addressing the toxic bile leaks via fixing toxicities and deficiencies, this is how we are finding success with so many different conditions without having to use a protocol on any of these conditions. We don't have protocols. I mean, I can tell you that if you have skin issues, you probably have a zinc deficiency. Okay, but is that a protocol? No. We just say you probably got a zinc deficiency, and we would want to see it testing hair and blood. We're the only people out there who look at hair and blood for zinc. And we find zinc deficiency everywhere. So anyway, that's what we got for today. Maybe I'll do that copper binding stuff next week. But yeah, caffeine is probably dumping too much copper in your system. That was a good question. I've been wanting to get to that actually with the theanine research that I found. Oh, and then the funny thing is I've talked a lot on Twitter about how cancers, as they said in one paper, it was a diverse number of cancers have tons of copper in them. And then I went, that's interesting. Let me go look up if theanine has beneficial effects in cancer if it binds copper. Yes, it does. Hey, here's a weird connection. Diabetics who are on metformin get less cancer than diabetics who aren't. What does metformin bind to? Copper. You copper lovers are going down a very bad road, and it's going to bite you in the ass. Copper is really, really hard to detox. It takes a long time. So if you are loading it in, the sooner you stop doing that, the sooner we'll be able to fix all the damage you did. And if you're riding high on that wave of suppressing your detox with copper for now, when it ends, just remember, I told you so, and I will still help you out of your mess. So y'all have a great week. I will see you next time. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the super chats. Bye now.